Alright guys, this is a video debrief of the Open Drive on the 19th of May. Now we're going to go through it, we're going to have a look at the brief, the pre-market prep, and then we're going to debrief the whole session and see if we can learn anything. Pretty hard one to trade. I'm sure there's lots of people out there who said they did amazingly. Yes, it was right to go long off the open, but given what's happened historically, that wasn't something that I was willing to do straight off the bat as an open drive. But once the market started to trade through some key levels that we pre-designated before the open, we really should have stopped thinking about taking shorts and recognizing that this was potentially going to be a big squeeze to the upside. Now, where you could have capitalized on that and taken trades long, I only really saw one opportunity, and I'll explain that to you. But the key was to just basically take your hands off the mouth and to walk away, which is the right thing if your setup's not there. And I didn't really have a setup. Could have had a setup for long off the open. I mean, it would have been in line with my weekend prep, because we'll go through that why that was a potential opportunity. But I wasn't willing to take that trade off the open. But let's get through it. Let's quickly have a look at what the prep was. I'm just including this as well. This was basically yesterday's prep. This was a look at the 2023 downgrade and what we were looking for. I was looking for something like this. This was the overnight action, pretty similar to what happened yesterday overnight. And up until this point, it felt like we were going to have something along those lines. But one of the areas that I said that I was looking for to trade and hold was the pre-open swing high. And in 2023, it was this little swing high here up at 49.84s. And we're going to have a look at what happened yesterday and why, as soon as that kind of happens, you want to be thinking that, you know what, this is probably not going to go the way I think it is, and I want to maybe look for longs if you get an opportunity, but there really wasn't any because it was such a strong open drive. So the good thing about this debrief is really going to go through what an open drive is. We've done open test drive, pretty similar to this one, because the open test drive that I did last week was also a test into POC, an important POC, and then we drove up from that one. If you have time, go and look for it on my channel. I go through the open test drive for you. But anyway, this is basically the pre-market setup. So it's really good to understand the context of this open drive. What we've been doing, we've been holding above this 200-day moving average, but we gapped lower overnight, but we didn't get anywhere near that 200-day moving average. Basically, we'd had strong continuation. This was the weekend prep, and the highlight and the pivot for the week was basically this weekly POC. There it is there. I'm pointing to it right now. 59.07, and we opened just above it, and we're going to have a look at that and how that can fuel us for it could have moved fueled us for a move to the downside, but we opened just above, and we just drove up higher. Also overnight, right, this is basically the prep, what we were looking at going into the open. I'm going to skip through this, but feel free to go pause, go look at it, and see if you can, if that helps you. I think it does. So that's why I'm just flying through it now. So this is what happened yesterday. So we're going to have a look at this in a little bit more detail, and I've numbered it out, and I suggest that this is just a very simple way to debrief. It really doesn't take very long, and this is why, you know, you should be debriefing, because you can learn from it. And this is what I've got for you. Okay, so overnight, there's the nice big gap. Held 20s, came back in, held 48s, and then moved down through lower, down into 92. 92 was the prior week's full session VWAP. So it held that pretty much to the tick, and then we started to find some buying into the close. This is quite normal. This is basically just some short covering. Profit taking into the open, because nobody knows what's going to happen on the open. So weak participants are going to just basically be taking something off. Anyway, so you can see that we're roughly holding VWAP, full session VWAP. But this is where it starts getting interesting. Number two is really, really important, because just before the open, we had some negative news from China. Basically, they were telling off the USA for its trade tariff policies, and basically they weren't very happy. Sharp drop on that, about 5 or 6 points in the ES, but it holds O2s, 59 O2s. Doesn't really matter anything. We saw it hold 59 O2s here before. That doesn't really mean anything. But the fact is, it held this little low volume node that we had created overnight, held the O2s. But the key thing is to see the volume that came in. So there's a big volume going in, and basically the rejection. And we started just creeping up into the open, which is number 3. Off the open, number 3, we just shot up. Okay, immediate bid. Basically, we are moving high. Now, if you remember in the in the prep, we were looking for the pre-open swing high to hold. Okay, and that's where I was looking for a short into 1920s, and indeed I took that short and got run over. Managed to get risk off, but the residual got stopped out for a small loss. No bad there. I was sticking to my plan. At this point, you don't know whether or not it's a proper open drive. You're guessing. You're taking some information. There was quite strong impulse to the upside, but we left an opening print low at 3, and there you have to be careful because you don't want to be fading that kind of behavior. But at this point, with only 10 points moving to the upside, we've only just breached that little pre-open swing high. That could just be stops. You could be thinking that, do you know what? I'm going to give it a little bit more room, and I'm going to wait to see what happens at Friday's high. You can see here, this is Friday's low, not Friday's high. Friday's low, 24s, 25s, and then you can see here it held before. That's another important swing high. And then what does it do? It just slices through it, and it just keeps ramping. Not a seller in town. Really aggressive delta moving to the upside. At this point, this is where you have to be thinking, do you know what? The sellers do not have this. And I was saying in my chat room, basically, that I think this looks like short covering. But, you know, where is the last stand for sellers? They really want to hold the 32s, which is Friday's tail low. So around this area here, marked out on my chart with this blue line roughly. And basically, what did it do when it got to there? It didn't stop there. No sellers. It sliced through it. It smashed through it. So you're really seeing some really strong impulsive buying. Basically, all the shorts getting trapped. And then we continue to rise. And at this point, once you've taken out 25 to 32, which was in my pre-open prep, you do not want to be even thinking about shorts. Okay, we're back inside Friday's value, and we are really on a one-way train up. Now, we could have failed. We could have had a little look above, fail the overnight high, but at this point, this is really unlikely. All this overnight positioning is completely and utterly offside, as well as anything and anybody short from Friday off the downgrade. Now, this is a really good lesson that markets can be quite noisy. The technicals don't lie, so we're really following the narrative from the charts, and we're kind of supplementing it with some of that other stuff that comes out with news. But really, the charts don't lie, and this was basically on a one-way road higher. And once we've taken out the overnight high, which we smashed through, now just notice that every level that we expected to find some sellers, there was no resistance. It was just smashing through. It was just completely and utterly obliterating all the offers on the upside. And we held at some point here 59.65, which was the pre-closing swing low. We held it. We found some little bit of resistance, but this was an opportunity to take the long off the overnight high. This was the one opportunity I felt that there was a long. Number six here. You could have taken it the first time, wouldn't have got very much, but the second time round, a little bit more risky but it didn't take out that low. It held. Okay, there was a buy there at the overnight high. Also coincides with Friday's IB high. And then basically from then on, it was just basically a grind to the highs. Once we've taken out Friday's highs, again, I'm going to just reiterate the fact that it did not stop. It did not find any sellers at the Friday high. It just smashed through. So we're getting you know, we're really getting some very quite stern buying, and it just grinds up to get up to 87s. Now 87s, number 9. Now that was a level that was marked out in my weekly prep. Really important. That's why it's marked out on my chart. And it's something that I wanted to pay attention to. It was the 2024 cash settle. Someone else noted that the 64 level was the unadjusted 2025 open, I think, as well. So basically, these are adjusted charts that I use. So a little bit of discrepancy there, but I find a lot of times that they do overlap. They are meaningfully, you know, they're there for another reason, but they're there for a reason. So smash up into 87s, and then we found a little bit of short taking back into IB highs, but again finding buys. And overnight, what do? We just stop through, take out all the stops up there, and we've just found some selling. So this is just important info. I think the real key thing to notice here is the fact that once your pre-market prep is you know, you've got your trading plan, you want to get short, you know, X, Y, Z spots, you don't want to insist, okay? Most important thing from this info, and this is a rule that I broke yesterday to take that short. Sometimes rules are there to be broken, but the rule was, my rule is you don't want to fade an opening print high or low, okay? Let's have a look at the footprints, not footprints, we're not looking at footprints today, sorry. But let's just have a look again on the bigger picture, what all this meant. Look, this is the overnight session. Look where it found a low. This was it found a low at the prior week's VWAP, 92s. You can see that little blue line there. That is the weekly VWAP, all sessions. Bounces off, and we take out last week's high. So we continue the one-time framing higher on the weekly now. That was the important pivot that we're looking for, last week's POC. Bullish above it, bearish below it. And I said yesterday in my prep that if we hold that POC, given the news, given what's been going on, this is going to be pretty bullish, and that's what's happened. So what it's left us with is an outside day. Just have a look at that on the profile on the right hand side. I've kind of highlighted some other bits and bobs. Yesterday's low, open drive, not only was it roughly the week's VPOC, but it was also Thursday's value area low. So, you know, to the tick. I love it when it's to the tick. I really do. Okay, and then basically, this was the danger area zone. This was important. This is the tail from Friday. This was important for the, you know, the sellers to hold, but it didn't. It just marched on through really aggressively, and only found there was a pullback in B and C period, double tap, and into 47s. And we found buys again, and we just continued to march high, but we left a little spike high, a little tail up there. Let me just check something in case I just said something stupid. Yes, it was. Yeah, okay, so we left a little tail up there, not too big, about 6 points, but that is a selling tail. That tail was then taken out overnight, but we found sellers up there again. So we're finding sellers up here, 2024 cash settle. So what can we expect going forward? We've got this outside day. How do we trade an outside day? I like to look at important areas in the middle. So for me, it's going to be the mid, which is coinciding with yesterday's. So that 47 area coinciding with the mid 50 to 47, that area is important. We hold above there. This would really set me up for a, oh, sorry, apologies. Let me get my little pencil out. So we're currently trading 67s, which is another important area for me, which there's 69. That is the POC for the day. And this is the mid and the singles, all around this area here, 47 to 54. So dip into here, find a nice bit of the singles. I'm going to be looking to take that prior high of day. Fall below that, I'm going to be looking to see if we can test back through these singles. Where would I expect to find some support in these singles. I don't expect to just go slicing through these singles, these A period singles. I'll draw, what I tend to do is when I find a nice big block of singles, I tend to draw the extremes and then put the middle somewhere in the middle. So again, defending Friday's lows is going to be important. So that's basically how I'd approach this. This is basically what I'm going to be looking for today. Bit of prep for today going into this debrief, but I think it's important to understand where we are, what's been going on. But anyway, that's pretty much it from me. Hopefully this debrief really helps you understand the importance of, you know, being prepared, having a plan, but also be willing to let go of that plan when things aren't working out, okay? Because let's just go back. Because if you were stubborn, it's very easy to get absolutely wiped out in this kind of behavior. Now, you know, nothing wrong with putting your hands up and saying, do you know what, I didn't catch this long. I didn't even take that long there. I was too fearful. That's something, you know, I just felt that, you know, what's the upside? We've already done 40, 50 points. What's the upside for me? I didn't really see it. But of course it just carried on going. But nothing wrong with you, you know, standing back and letting the market do its thing, and then wait for something in the next session. You know, look for your setup. Okay, something that might not set up for you today, but it might do tomorrow. It might have set up for someone today, or they might just be lying toe rags. All right, okay, that's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully this is useful. There's a little outline of what we're going to look for. Just remember the overnight look above fail. Where we are is that cash settle for 2024. I really want to see that taken out. We might find some stubborn selling up there, as we have done yesterday and overnight. And please, lastly, these videos, I really appreciate you guys following me, subscribing. Gives me a little bit of justification for doing them. I think they're really useful. I think, you know, not only am I giving you a brief, but I'm also debrief, but I'm also doing the prep for it. So I'm putting them together, and there are setups in there. Like today's one is the open drive from the week's POC, and the overnight POC actually as well, if you have a look at it. All right, thanks guys for watching. Much appreciated.